Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. What we expect from retirement is changing. New research from Vanguard says more Australians are planning to continue working in some capacity after retirement, and a large number of people intend to take career breaks during the accumulation phase. It emphasises the importance of having a plan, with those planning ahead generally more confident about their retirement. Daniel Shrimski, I've got your name wrong then. Daniel Shrimski is the Managing Director of Vanguard Australia. Daniel, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thanks, Sean. Great to be here. Appreciate the time.
Those of us who follow finance closely, and certainly those in the industry, know Vanguard. It is a massive organisation. But for the many listeners who probably don't follow closely, just quickly give the Vanguard story because it's interesting. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, we came into existence in the 70s in the United States and were structured differently in terms of really structuring ourselves around the client. And we're a mutual structure, so everything we do is for the client, is for the investor. And we came to Australia in the late 90s and essentially set up in Australia supporting institutions and managing a lot of the money that institutions run for superannuation investors. And we then brought on financial advisors, and we support a large network of financial advisors. They're certainly the backbone of our business here in Australia. And then about 5 years ago, we decided to go direct to Australians. So we're no longer in the business of supporting large institutions. We essentially have a non-superannuation offer that we have in market. And then about 6 months ago, we launched a superannuation offer to market, Vanguard Super. And really excited by the business that we've built. We have about 80 billion here in Australia, which compared to the 11 trillion we have globally is obviously small, but large by Australian standards. And we're proud with what we've built here in Australia.
And Vanguard is one of the world's biggest managers. Also, the low fee factor, you have promoted the fact that you are lower cost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things with 11 trillion globally, we've certainly been able to scale our fees such that as we've managed to build that scale, we've been able to bring fees down at the same time. And that's what we've done in Australia over the past 25 years. As we've had success with various offers from ETFs to managed funds, we've managed to bring down fees. And we think that also puts pressure on competitors. And we've certainly seen competitors move to meet what Vanguard's been able to do. So really excited. As I said, we are here for the client and certainly put the client at the center of everything we do. And cost matters. And I think when you look at investment performance, cost plays such a critical role. So the more we can do in terms of delivering back to investors with lower fees, the better.
Okay, so on to the How Australia Retires report. I had a look at it. It was almost like, going to university or going to work. If you're prepared, you do better. And it's the same for retirement.
Yeah, it's spot on. And look, really, really interesting piece of research. As we got into Vanguard Super, we thought, hey, we need to learn more about how Australians are thinking about retirement. And therefore, we engaged with about 1,800 Australians in terms of how they think about retirement and what some of the risks are, what some of the opportunities are. But you're right, Sean, planning certainly makes a huge difference. And the research shows us that if you've got a plan, you're 6 times as confident with retirement than those that don't have a plan. And confidence is so important because confidence results in a more successful retirement and Australians being able to live the lifestyle they want. And it also reduces stress and reduces anxiety. So having a plan is critical. And that could be budgeting, that could be prioritizing savings is a big part of that, making additional superannuation contributions. So there are so many factors that play into a plan, but plan certainly matters when it comes to having a successful retirement.
Stay with me, Daniel. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Daniel Shrimski, Managing Director of Vanguard Australia. When you delve into the research, some really interesting, something that jumped out at me, it seems that working age Australians consider super an important part of their retirement plan, but they actually expect to rely on it less than those who have already retired. Is that normal?
Yeah, it is interesting. I was taken back by that a little bit as well, Sean. And I think one of the things we found as part of trying to learn more about how Australians are going to use super in retirement, one of the interesting data points was that 1 in 4 working age Australians highlighted investment property as being a big part of their retirement plan. When you compare that to retired Australians, 1 in 10 retired Australians have a investment property as an asset. So I think that obsession with property and that desire to own investment property is certainly going to be a big part of how Australians plan to retire. But we do have, I think, we've had so many visitors from the US come over and try to learn about superannuation. We just have one of the best superannuation systems or retirement systems in the world, Sean. And we're the 13th largest economy in the world and maybe the 4th or 5th largest retirement pool. So I think superannuation is going to play a big part, but it was interesting to hear that there are other ways in which people plan to fund their retirement. The maybe last point I'd say on this one, and I think it's important to note and something we need to do better on as an industry, is the engagement that Australians have with their superannuation.
Yeah.
It's in many respects, in many situations, it's the second largest asset that an Australian has after their family home. But Australians are unsure of their super balance. They're unsure of the fees they pay. They don't have a relationship with their super fund in terms of contacting them. So I think there's an opportunity for super funds to work out a way in which they can engage with their members in a better way. But also for members, it's so important to understand those things because, like I said at the outset, cost matters, and understanding what your super fund is providing you with matters. So yeah, some really interesting learnings there.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I kind of thought I get sort of EDMs every month or every week from my super fund, but I would never think about engaging myself, being proactive, and I'm now mid-50s, so it's kind of time I should be thinking a bit more about this. But it's just something that hadn't really occurred that I should be actively chasing my super fund.
Yeah, and I think it's around learning what you're invested in, learning about the fees you're paying, and I think it's never too early. Even people, Australians entering the workforce at 25 or whatever the age might be, understanding those elements is so important because putting a plan in place, I don't think it's ever too early, and understanding those elements are important because in 30 or 40 or 50 years' time, they'll have been relevant in terms of what you have at retirement.
Now, on that exact topic, almost 2 in 3 working Australians have never engaged a financial advisor to help map out their retirement strategy. At Fear and Greed, we are huge supporters of financial advisors. How do we change it so that it's not 1 in 3, it's 2 in 3 that are engaging?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Sean. And again, it just plays into that confidence element that I mentioned earlier, around that confidence that a financial advisor gives you. And we certainly worry a little bit about how Australians are getting their guidance, whether it be through family or friends or social media or doing their own research. And there's a lot of great stuff out there, but it's certainly fraught with danger at the same time. And I think whether it be Treasury, whether it be the industry, we need to do a better job of giving Australians access to more high quality and affordable advice. And Australians are probably aware of the cost of engaging a financial advisor. So we need to work through how we do reduce the cost of financial advice, make it affordable, make it high quality. And as you're probably aware, Sean, there's a review going on with Treasury right now in terms of how we do that, because advice matters. It absolutely delivers. The research would show it delivers a greater return to Australians, and it does build that confidence and give peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, that peace of mind is interesting because the survey shows that anyone that's received professional advice are more likely to be confident about funding their retirement than people who haven't. And that peace of mind is very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a financial advisor is so important in terms of putting you into the right investment option, but also behavioral coaching. I think such a large part of an advisor's role is to coach the everyday Australian, and they play a big part in giving the investor or the everyday Australian peace of mind and comfort and confidence that when it does come to retirement, they're going to be able to live the life they want and deserve.
Okay, now 1 in 3 working age Australians, so people who are working now, expect to keep working in some capacity during retirement. I'm definitely in that category. I have no interest in retiring full time. Having said that, 8 in 10 current retirees stopped working completely upon retiring. So it just seems that 1 in 33% versus 20% seems to be a big jump.
Yeah. And look, I think the research also showed that I think a lot of the working day Australians believe they're going to have to work to fund the retirement. And it's interesting when you look at the desired average income that a working Australian thinks they want in retirement, it's north of $95,000. But a retiree thinks that desirable income is more like $68,000. So there's certainly a large discrepancy in terms of what a working age Australia thinks they're going to need versus what a retiree thinks they need today. So again, interesting to learn about the kinds of things that people think about for their retirement. A lot of working age Australians think about travel and spending time abroad. Retirees are talking more about living more of their hobbies and that being a massive part of their lifestyle. And the other interesting element, a lot of working age Australians, I think, are less likely to own a home compared to older generations. And that leads to rental expenses and probably leads to them requiring that higher income. So yeah, some interesting insights there. And again, I think it all comes down to planning and understanding what you're going to need.
I think, Daniel, the moral of this whole interview is see a financial planner and get a plan.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'd say, agree with that, Sean, focusing on this now. It's never too early.
Nor too late, probably.
Never too late. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for talking to Fear and Greed, Daniel.
Appreciate the time, Sean. Yeah, great opportunity to speak to some of your listeners.
That was Daniel Shrimski, Managing Director of Vanguard Australia. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Remember, this is general information only and you should seek professional advice before making any investment decisions. I think we made that pretty clear throughout the interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.